Hello everyone, you're welcome to the Irish Mammy channel. So the reality of autumn and winter in Ireland has set in this week. We've had an awful week of rain and wind, just real wintry weather, although not cold, but too wet to put your nose outside the door at the same time. So today I thought I'd bring you along to make soup. I'm going to make a nice warming hearty soup with red curry winter squash. They're all over the supermarkets at the minute. I have grown them in the past myself. I can't claim to have grown this one, but I did get it at a local food swap that our cottage market runs every so often. So the first thing I have to do is put my sourdough into the oven. I'm not bringing you that recipe today. That's a little bit more complicated and I still can't say I've perfected it. The ingredients for today's soup are actually quite simple and straightforward. So this is my pretty simple ingredient list here. The red curry at the back here is the main star of the show. Fairly small winter squash, red curry, and some kinds called uchiki curry squash as well. But really you can use any squash for this. You could use butternut or you could use an acorn squash, or even a small dense pumpkin. Homegrown garlic and homegrown onion. I have some leftover mashed potato here. These were homegrown potatoes left over, and a great way of using up leftover mash as well. Also I'm going to roast some bacon in the oven, just as a nice crunchy garnish on the top. And then I have homemade vegetable stock, which I just make from my scraps in the garden, and I can it to keep it on the shelf. But of course you can just use 2 vegetable stock cubes. Okay, so there's nothing much to this. I'm going to start chopping up my vegetables and then I'll come back to you. You can see from this here, I'm actually having trouble peeling the squash. It's quite tough, the skin on it, and I remembered when I was doing it that I usually do roast the squash and just scrape out the flesh out of the roasted squash then. It's much handier than what I'm at here. I wouldn't have had time anyway to roast the squash, so I would have had to do it this way regardless, but just if you wanted to roast the squash first, definitely it would make this job much easier. And here I'm adding salt, very important to season your soup. I'm adding 2 teaspoons of salt because my stock would not have very much salt in it. So I would advise you to taste your soup and judge for yourself. I'm adding bacon as a garnish to this. It's not necessary whatsoever. You could leave this vegetarian and keep the bacon out of it. This is a thick cut maple cured bacon, and I love to cook it on a tray in the oven because it makes it nice and crispy, and it saves all the mess on the stovetop. And here I'm just checking the squash to see if it's almost cooked through, almost soft. I don't want to add the potatoes in until the squash is almost cooked because I'm only heating through the potatoes for a couple of minutes before I'm going to blend it up. And here we are with the final product, lovely steaming bowl of soup. Great to warm you up on a cold autumn or winter's day. And I get a great satisfaction out of knowing that I've grown the majority of the ingredients for this and even made the stock from the trimmings of the vegetables that I bring in from the garden. It definitely is gives you a great sense of satisfaction to know that you've produced the most of it yourself. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video coming from my kitchen today. As always, I'd ask you to like and subscribe to the channel, and you'll find a recipe in the description box down below.